What if stupidity isn't just a lack of intelligence, but a weapon? A silent force that turns reasonable people into quiet collaborators. Not with malice, but with something far more dangerous. It begins so innocently. A father forwarding a video he didn't watch. A teacher questioning the curriculum because someone online said they're hiding the truth. An engineer, MIT degree, decades of experience, now convinced the earth is flat. They don't feel stupid. They're certain, calm, even proud. This story isn't about ignorance, it's about surrender. A kind that creeps in quietly, not through failure to learn, but a decision to stop thinking. They call it many things: groupthink, bias, cognitive ease. But one man gave it a name that still unsettles psychologists today. He called it functional stupidity, and he said it would be the greatest threat of our time. Part 1. Familiar gone wrong. The descent doesn't start with chaos, it starts with care. A woman in her kitchen, scrolling in silence. She pauses on a headline. Doctors warn. Vaccine linked to infertility. She doesn't blink. A tenured professor stands before a whiteboard. But the formula he's writing isn't about inflation. It's about globalist control. A father kneels proudly beside his daughter's science fair project. Why climate change is a hoax. She smiles. He smiles back. These aren't fringe figures, not villains, not madmen. These are people who once taught others to think clearly, who once trusted evidence. And yet, something shifted, quietly, without warning. The terrifying part isn't that they changed their minds. It's how normal the change looked. It didn't arrive like madness. It arrived like certainty. They weren't drawn in by stupidity. They were pulled by fear, by repetition, by the slow erosion of friction. When the pressure mounts, when trust erodes, even brilliant minds default to survival, not truth. It's not about intelligence. It's about the unbearable need to feel certain in an uncertain world. This isn't them. It's us. Ordinary minds under extraordinary pressure. Part 2. Anchor in authority. It wasn't the cruelty that frightened him most. It was the cheerfulness. In a Nazi prison cell, beneath the weight of a war collapsing in on itself, a man scribbled something most overlooked. He had seen the death camps, the indoctrination, the slow, merciless collapse of reason. And still, this was his warning. Against stupidity, we are defenseless. His name was Dietrich Bonhoeffer, pastor, philosopher, enemy of the Reich, executed by hanging. April 9th, 1945. Just 3 weeks before Hitler fell. But Bonhoeffer's resistance wasn't just political. It wasn't just spiritual. It was cognitive. He wasn't merely resisting power. He was resisting the seduction of stupidity. He'd seen how intelligent men, professors, theologians, scientists, had become marionettes. Eyes bright, smiles fixed, speaking lies they believed were truth, not because they were forced, but because it felt safer. Bonhoeffer understood something few dared say aloud. Evil resists. Stupidity cooperates. He watched as whole societies surrendered their minds not out of hatred, but from fatigue. It wasn't the jackboots that spread terror. It was the silence, the nods, the quiet compliance. This wasn't ignorance. It was intellectual surrender. He died for thinking, for refusing to look away when thinking became unbearable. Part 3. Pattern recognition. Patterns don't lie. 1692, Salem, Massachusetts. A town stricken by invisible fear. Women accused, children interrogated, neighbors turned informants. No proof needed, just suspicion. And silence. 1954, Washington, D.C. Senator McCarthy holds up a list no one ever reads. Behind every curtain, a communist. Behind every voice, suspicion. And then 2020, a different kind of plague. Not biological terror, but epistemological. Ideas mutate. Misinformation spreads faster than the virus itself. Today, the lie isn't just spoken, it's rendered. In full HD, with your voice and your face. We have not escaped history. We've accelerated it. What once took generations to unfold, now unfolds in hours. From rumor to radio, from hashtags to hallucinations, from bonfires to deep fakes, stupidity evolves. And now, it's automated. It doesn't whisper anymore. It optimizes. Tailored doubt, engineered certainty, curated delusion. Every scroll, every swipe a rehearsal in functional stupidity. And like before, it doesn't feel evil. It feels normal. The danger isn't that we've forgotten the past. It's that we're living it. Just faster. Part 4. Reveal the systemic pressure. The problem isn't just in the mirror. It's in the air. He's not ignorant. He's tired. Bone deep tired. Somewhere between the third shift and the price of eggs, the will to stay informed eroded into dust. They call it apathy, but it's closer to triage. When the mind is overdrawn, it defaults, simplifies, not because it wants to, because it must. Stress isn't episodic anymore. It's ambient, chronic, invisible until it shapes the very way we think. And in this fog of fatigue, a dangerous shortcut forms. Rational ignorance. Do you want to know, or do you want to cope? It's a calculated surrender, not because the truth isn't important, but because it feels unaffordable. Certainty is the cheapest relief, and the algorithm knows it. Our attention isn't stolen, it's seduced by a system engineered to reward outrage, not understanding, speed, not accuracy. And so we click and scroll, and unknowingly train ourselves to feel informed while knowing less. We're not lazy, we're exhausted, drowning in noise and starved of meaning. The stupidity we fear may not be a flaw, it may be a side effect. Part 5. Personal tools to fight back. Even in the noise, some people stopped and listened. He wasn't looking for confirmation. He was looking for contradiction. For the first time in months, she waited. 60 seconds. Just long enough to hear her own doubt. This isn't about being right. It's about being awake. Somewhere in the static, a few began practicing resistance. Not through rebellion, through restraint. They called it intellectual friction, like exercise for the mind. Not comfortable, not clean, but necessary. Productive ignorance, radical humility, tiny gestures in a war no one sees. History doesn't reward certainty. It rewards correction. They weren't trying to win arguments, they were trying to escape the trap. And in those moments, the machinery cracked. Not loudly, but just enough to let something true through. Maybe stupidity isn't just a threat. Maybe it's a pattern. And maybe, just maybe, we can break it. Part 6. The Bonhoeffer Challenge. Who stands fast? They hanged Dietrich Bonhoeffer at dawn, not because he hated, but because he refused to stop thinking. Against stupidity, we are defenseless. Not ignorance, not madness, stupidity. A silence that wears the mask of certainty. Who stands fast? When comfort demands silence. Who dares to keep thinking? Would you speak if everyone stayed quiet? Would you question yourself when being right feels safer than being honest? Stupidity doesn't scream. It nods. It clicks. It scrolls. It waits for someone else to go first. He knew he wouldn't survive, but maybe his words would. We are not asked to be brilliant, only brave enough to keep thinking. Part 7. Challenge plus close the loop the next time you feel absolutely certain. Pause. That's where the real thinking begins. Stupidity isn't an accident. It's a system. Quiet, efficient, self-reinforcing. And the terrifying part? We survive inside it by pretending it's not there. But what if survival isn't the goal? What if thinking is? What if stupidity isn't an accident, but a system we survive by thinking our way out of. So question something this week. Just one thing. A belief you inherited. A headline you liked. A truth you never touched. It's not about being right. It's about being awake. Against stupidity, we are not helpless if we think. Every time you choose curiosity over certainty, you protect something rare. Your mind. Are you thinking, or are you reacting?